Hello everyone. In today's video, we try to highlight the first keyword of genetic, which is called overview of genetics. In here, we try to explain these four keywords: genetics, genetic variations, genetic disorders, and genetic engineering. Okay. Now, in a cellular universe where chromosomes are the designers and the DNA, the blueprint, genes and alleles play actual atomic game. For what? For variations. So the smallest alteration or variations can lead to genetic disorders sometime, and it inspires genetic engineering because the alteration brings disorders, and disorders need what? Disorders means diseases. So diseases are problems. To solve these problems, it highlights or it brings another term which is called genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, it highlights the nature of the disease and also it solves the genetic issues. Now, the first one, genetics, it means study the genes and heredity of traits plus variations of living things or living organisms. This is the genetics. Genetics, it means chromosomes. So, what are the chromosomes? Chromosomes are thread like structure within the cell, and human cell or nucleus of human cell contains 23 pairs of chromosomes. Let's see, chromosome consists of what? DNA, proteins, and RNA. So we can say chromosomes are house for DNA. It contains the DNA. What's a DNA? DNA is a double-stranded structure molecule that encode genetic instructions. It means carry the genetic information for producing proteins. So we can say DNA is the sequence of nucleotides. So what are the nucleotides? Nucleotides are the smallest structure of DNA. It consists of nitrogen bases, sugar, and phosphate. These are the structure of nucleotides. Now, chromosome contains DNA, and DNA has gene. What's a gene? Gene, the specific or the short sequence of DNA is called gene or genes. So we can say basic units of heredity. Genes are basic units of heredity, which consist of what? DNA or nucleotides, and also gene carry information for what? For producing proteins, for development, for growth, which are required. So, what the structure of gene? Gene consists of promoter, exons, introns, and also regulatory sequences plus enhancer sequences. In here, we try to highlight the promoter, exon, and intron sequences. So, a promoter refers to a specific region of DNA, a specific sequence of DNA. Functions of promoter serves as a binding site for RNA polymerases and transcription factors. So, promoters play a crucial role in initiating the process of transcription, the process of producing RNA, or we can say mRNA. What are the exons and introns? Exons contain a specific sequences of nucleotide that encode amino acid sequence of proteins. And whereas non-coding sequences, which are called introns, do not encode amino acid, therefore do not contribute directly to protein synthesis. Instead, they are transcribed into precursor messenger RNA, which are called pre-mRNAs, along with the exons. So the location of our genes. As we know, genes are part of our DNA, and DNA parts of our chromosome, and chromosomes are located within the nucleus. So it means we can see the location or our genes within the nucleus. Now, chromosomes are DNAs are genes, and different variation or different versions of gene called alleles. Different versions of a DNA sequence or a gene is called allele. This is the allele. So sometimes allele may be homozygous or heterozygous. It depends. Now, the variation of alleles or genes brings a disease. It's called genetic variation. So genetic variation, it's called differences in our DNA sequence. Sometimes it brings a disease. In the case of cancer, genetic variations or it brings alteration of our DNA sequences, which causes or which brings the genetic disorders and non-genetic disorders. So the smallest alteration can lead to genetic disorders and inspires the genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, we can say, manipulating genes, changing the sequence of DNA practically. So manipulating genes for practical purposes such as treatments, finding a treatment, or for biotechnological advancement, it means produce the biotechnological products is called genetic engineering. So genetic engineering produce or brings treatments or solving issues that are produced from the genetic disorders. Genetic disorders uh, produces as a result of genetic variations. And genetic variations, as we said, it means the differences in our DNA sequences. Now, this is an overview of genetic terms which are included genetics, genetic variations, and genetic disorders, plus genetic engineering. I've added some extra information about genetics to make the subject more interesting and understandable, which I hope you will find enjoyable. Thanks for your watching. If you would like to see more genetic related lectures, you can subscribe to our channel.